Hi friends, E.C. Maltbia here, Senior Pastor of the True Holiness Saints Center in the beautiful city of Conway, Arkansas. And I'm so pleased to announce that we have now officially entered the Easter season. And because we have officially entered the Easter season, our Wednesday word tonight is Lent. So what is Lent, Pastor Maltbia? From the Old English, Lent refers to the lengthening of days or springtime. But for the Christian, Lent is really all about the 40-day period leading up to Easter Sunday, a time when Christians focus their attention on prayer, on fasting, and on giving. 6 weeks of preparation leading up to Easter. That's what Lent is all about. So what is the purpose of Lent, Pastor Maltbia? For the Christian, Lent is all about spiritual preparation. In fact, I like to think of Lent as having a spring cleaning for your soul. So here's what I want to do tonight. I just want to take the next few moments and focus in on the 3 primary reasons for Lent: prayer, fasting, and giving. The first one we want to look at tonight is prayer. So what is prayer, Pastor Maltbia? Prayer, in simplest terms, is having a communication with God. And one of my absolute favorite scriptures on prayer is found in Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 16. Here's what it says. Let us then approach the throne of God with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find help in our time of need. During the Lent season, during the 6 weeks leading up to Easter, we as Christians must focus intentionally on prayer. For it is during our prayer time that we ask God for help. We ask God to help us to, first of all, identify the weights and the sins in our lives that we have not dealt with. During your prayer time for the next 6 weeks, you ought to pray that God shows you anything in your life that's not like Him. You ought to pray that God shows you any secret sin that you're holding on to that He wants you to get rid of. You ought to ask Him to show you people, places, and things that are hindering your Christian walk with Him. Prayer is a big part of the Lent season. We ask God for help to identify the weights and the sins in our life. But then we ask God through prayer to help us to have His perspective. Yeah, His perspective. During Lent, we pray, God, help me to see my sins the way you see them. Help me to acknowledge my sins as being wrong. Help me to acknowledge my sins as being harmful and ungodly. Help me to acknowledge my sins as being a big deal. But it is during time of Lent, this personal time of prayer, that we ask God for help. To help us to identify the weights and sins in our life, and to help us to identify His perspective. But then we ought to ask God through prayer to help us renew our passion. To help us renew our passion for the things of God. To help us to renew our passion for His Word. To help us to renew our passion for our Christian community. Lent is the 40 days leading up to Easter. It is a time of spiritual preparation. It is a time of spring cleaning our soul. And it is during the time of Lent that we have intentional prayer. But then secondly tonight, it is during the time of Lent that we have fasting. a period of fasting. So what does it mean, Pastor Maltbia, to fast? In simplest terms, the word fast simply means to abstain or to give something up for a spiritual purpose. That's what fasting is all about. It is abstaining or to give something up for a spiritual purpose or spiritual goal. When I think about fasting, I can't help but think about the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 16, verses 17 and 18. Here's what it says. But when you fast, put oil on your face. Put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you openly. In other words, Jesus cautions us, if you're going to fast, don't make a spectacle of it. If you're going to fast, you don't have to walk around looking deep. If you're going to fast, you don't have to walk around looking pitiful. If you're going to fast, you don't have to announce it on social media. Jesus says, don't make it obvious. Do it in secret, and our God will reward you openly. During the Lent season, let your fasting be discreet. So what do we abstain from? What do we give up during Lent? And there are a lot of things you can give up during the 6 weeks of Lent. But let me just mention some of the most common ones to you. You can give up certain foods. For instance, you can say, well, you know what? I'm going to give up meat. Or you can say, I'm going to give up fried foods. Or you can say, I'm only going to eat fish. But you can give up certain foods. You can give up sodas. You can give up coffee. You can give up your favorite dessert like chocolate. Here's something you can give up during Lent. You can give up social media. You can give up alcohol. You can give up shopping online. You can give up video games. You can give up complaining. But when it comes to fasting for Lent, you give up something. You abstain from something for a spiritual goal. And you don't have to give it up for the entire 6 weeks, but you can give it up for certain periods of time. For instance, you might say during the season of Lent for 6 weeks, I'm going to give up social media from the hours of 8 p.m. To 12 midnight. Or maybe you say on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to fast from certain food. But whatever it is, abstain from it and use that time to get closer to God. The Lent season, the springtime, the lengthening of days is about 6 weeks of preparation to get our hearts and minds ready for Easter. We do that through our intentional prayer time, asking God for help. We do that through fasting, abstaining from certain things for a spiritual purpose. And here's the last one. We celebrate and participate in Lent through giving. And when I talk about giving, I'm not just talking about financial donations, but more specifically, I'm talking about acts of service, giving. In other words, I'm talking about donating your time and talents for the benefit of others. Here's your social media quote for tonight. May the joy that you give to others be the same joy that God returns to you in abundance. May your joy, the joy that you give to others, be the same joy that our God returns to you in abundance. Giving is about acts of service. In other words, giving is about, yes, donating. Maybe you're going to donate your gently used products to others. Maybe that means you're going to donate gently used clothing or gently used household products. Or maybe it even means donating gently used electronics. But you're never going to donate to someone else the thing that you wouldn't want yourself. But you can donate money or you can donate products. But acts of service also means volunteering. You can volunteer at a local nonprofit organization, or you can donate by volunteering at your local church. Maybe you'll say, for the 6 weeks of Lent, I'm going to volunteer my time being an usher. During the 6 weeks of Lent, I'm going to volunteer my time working with the youth ministry. During the 6 weeks of Lent, I'm going to volunteer some of my time helping around the church. But Lent is all about prayer. It's all about fasting. And it's all about giving. And we do all of these things, dear hearts, to prepare our hearts and minds for the Easter season. Today, Wednesday, February the 22nd, is the beginning of Lent. And it is my prayer that you would begin tonight preparing your hearts and minds for Easter Sunday morning. Have a spring cleaning of your heart and your mind so that when Easter gets here, we can all truly celebrate the risen Christ in our lives. Until we speak again, my friends, be blessed.